We begin in Zambia, where the country recently promoted African investment when President Hakainde Hichilema hosted key Nigerian industrialists. But Nigerian-backed Bank of Nevis International BONI, led by Michael Prest, says it had a very different experience. After acquiring a 24.8% stake in Trust Bank in 2021, BONI claims to have waited nearly 3 years for central bank approval, only to be told it wasn't recognized as a shareholder before the bank was then liquidated. Now, BONI is seeking the return of its funds, raising concerns about regulatory certainty and investor protection. For background on this case, here is an excerpt from Arise Global Business Report anchor Rota Sidiri, speaking on this back in December.
Let's get over to Zambia now. Zambia, of course, has been a success story this year with President Hichilema looking to, reconstruct debt that's been owed by the nation. Remember, there was a default years ago. Also trying to improve dispute resolution and also improve transparency when it comes to investors bringing money into Zambia. Zambia, of course, has also been helped by the commodities boom with copper, in particular gold and the likes, because they're mining, or rather precious metal mineral exports is something that the country relies upon. And the exchange in Lusaka, double-digit returns, much like Ghana, much like Nigeria, Egypt, Kenya, doing pretty well. So stock market up, debt under control. Inflation is decelerating, was 16% year on year in November of last year. I think 10.9 or so November of this year. So, things are improving. However, there are still questions over transparency and communication with investors, particularly with BONI, which is a company that took a stake in a Zambian bank Trust in 2021, a 24.8% stake. And there were some regulatory hurdles because after they took that stake, this was, of course, in line with, according to the company, the requirements from the Securities Exchange in Lusaka. They were informed by the Bank of Zambia that the Trust, of course, being a bank, comes under the purview of the Bank of Zambia, and so further approval needed to be received. BONI says that they did not get that approval from the bank. Again, they took that stake in 2021. 2024, they were informed by the bank that, hey, listen, you got to wait a little longer. And then before they knew what was next, according to the company, they were informed by the Bank of Zambia that they're not recognized as a shareholder, even though they took that.
Now, more on this case. Two court rulings in 2025 both rejected the Bank of Zambia's procedural attempts to block BONI's case, meaning the dispute over whether BONI's share ownership counts and whether compensation is due is still alive and not yet decided on its merits. Joining me now for an update on this case live from Yerevan, Armenia, is the personal attorney and lawyer of Michael Prest, and also founder and managing partner at Amsterdam and Partners, Robert Amsterdam. Many thanks for joining us. Yes, thank you so much. Many thanks for joining us this afternoon, Mr. Amsterdam. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes.
Great. Now, Mr. Amsterdam, you are an internationally known lawyer. How did you become involved in the Zambia BONI Trust matter?
Well, I know Michael, and I've been involved for many years with both Nigeria and Zambia, and I've been disheartened by the problems that he's faced. He is a real leader in spotting opportunities in Africa and in developing the intra-African investment, which is so crucial to the future of the continent. And he identified Zambia as a gateway nation, bordering on 8 countries, 360 million populace within that region. He identified this opportunity. He invested through the Lusaka exchange, as he was invited to do. A tremendous amount has been invested in making Lusaka appear as a leader in investment opportunities and transparency. And then, as you're accurately stated, he was held up for over 3 years, only to be left at the altar with the Bank of Zambia putting the bank into liquidation, a tragic story and an own goal for Zambia. And Zambia is a unique opportunity in terms of Africa. It has a stable political environment. It is a country I know well, having represented and been privileged to represent the former president, Rupiah Banda. And, I'm deeply saddened by the state of events we're in. And we've been looking for a proper Zambian response to this completely irregular situation where, an important investor comes to the country, presents a very innovative and important solution to a compliance-based gateway bank that could have really been a headquarters for the region. And he had very significant opportunities with major domestic investors in Zambia. And little attention was paid to him then or now. And it is with deep and extensive frustration that we are today in litigation. We don't believe that should be necessary. The facts are clear. The bottom line is the Bank of Zambia did not respond properly in a timetable that made any commercial sense, and did not have the legal power to engage in this blocking activity that they appear to have engaged in. And as a result, an important Zambian bank went into liquidation, and an important African investor, and the opportunities it would present to both Zambia and Africa have been lost.
Now, you've given us quite an overview of events as you see it so far. But the question is, why does this matter beyond one investor and one bank? Can we get some more insight into that?
Well, I think it's contextual. There's a tremendous focus now on intra-African investment. And Zambia has made a tremendous show of placing itself in the vanguard in terms of a home for investment and an opportunity for growth. And frankly, their failure to respond is a warning sign to international investors. And its importance lays far beyond this one activity. It lays a question at the door of the Lusaka exchange itself.
All right.
And as you can see, there has been, we've already seen a number of rulings obtained where the courts have been very much acting on the side of the investor in terms of trying to move this along.
So, Mr. Amsterdam, what happens next? How can this be resolved ultimately?
Look, we're hoping for some form of either structured mediation or resolution that doesn't take us years in the Zambian courts to resolve. And we are also approaching it at the governmental level as well, because, Mr. Hichilema has made investment security a key issue in terms of his presidency. And quite honestly, there's a failure here that needs to be speedily addressed.
Certainly. Now, in light of these events as presented, do you think that Michael Prest and BONI will invest again in Zambia?
Look, I'm the last one who'd want to close the door on either he or the opportunities Zambia presents. I've been involved, firstly, in Nigeria for 50 years and in Zambia for a very long time. And I think it's of critical import that this type of case doesn't continue, and that especially with respect to this type of investor, this African investor trying to build Zambia up to its potential, that there's a speedy resolution to it.
Right, and in terms of the wider ramifications of this, what concerns should Zambian stakeholders have here? Should there be worries about reputational fallout?
Well, absolutely. I mean, this is not a case that will go away. This is a case that will matter to all of the banks and investors in the future Zambian market. And remember, with what's happening in South Africa, Zambia sees this as a very important opportunity. And certainly with a lot of attention being directed to Lusaka at this time, one would hope for a speedy resolution.
Yes, and speaking of a speedy resolution, what would that look like to you in practical terms, a fair resolution that is?
Listen, quite simply, a return on investment, a payment for damages, in the neighborhood of $40 million, which would cover both the investment and the opportunity cost to the investor in this situation.
Now, many could also say that BONI is challenging the regulator's authority. Is this, in fact, correct?
No, I don't think it's a challenge of authority. It's in many ways a challenge of predictability. You can't engage in the type of almost touting that's gone on in respect to both Lusaka as a venue and Zambia as an opportunity without being held to account for a lack of predictability. The one thing no investor can stomach is when predictability leads to uncertainty, and that's exactly what's happened in this case.
Right. Time is unfortunately against us, and we'll have to wrap the discussion up here. But many thanks, Mr. Amsterdam, for taking the time to share your submissions today. We certainly hope for the necessary resolutions on this case.